We've all been there, feeling stuck in the grind, chasing that freedom we're aching to find. But what if the answer was clearer than you knew? With numbers and strategy, we'll walk you through. No more shame, no fear inside.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Fearlessly Debt Free. I'm Lisa Marie Heinz, and I am so thankful and grateful that you're here today. Today we're going to talk about something that's a little different than our typical financial strategies and numbers conversation. We're actually going to talk about the emotional side of money. And even though I come on here time and time again and I say, let's look at money as a tool and try to keep the emotion out of it, we shouldn't put our emotions in the way of using that tool. But we do. In many cases, conversations that I've had over and over again typically pull emotion around money. And of course, we're human. We have human things going on to make us feel that emotion. But the truth is that in far too many cases, our numbers on a spreadsheet, our emotion surrounds it. If I could say with a snap of a finger, let's remove that emotion in every single case, it would be the best thing ever. But we do have to work through it. And I would love to be able to do that. But the reality is that emotion is there. Because our money, it touches so many different things. It touches our confidence, it touches our relationships, and it also touches how we see ourselves. And sometimes it can even affect how hopeful we feel about our future. So lately I've been hearing more and more unfortunate, sad stories in our community about people who are really struggling, and they're struggling deeply. And they may be feeling overwhelmed, or they might be feeling like there's no way out. And I want to take some time today to talk about that, talk about the honesty behind that, because if there's one thing that I can tell you that I want you to hear clearly, it's this, that no financial situation that you're in is worth your life. To notice that these things are happening and look the other way is one thing, but I want to be here to say that there's always a way forward. And yes, it may include having to do some tough things, but we can do it. I know we can do it. So let's talk about something that's really important right away. And that is, if you've been feeling overwhelmed, or you're in a place right now where that money talk is really intense and terrifying, just know that you're not alone. And if you've heard any of these lives, you hear me giving you some statistics. The first statistic I will give you is the Phycological Association. They talk about how the money is consistently the number one source of stress for Americans. The number one source for that stress. 72% of adults say that they feel stressed at some point about money. Maybe not all the time, but sometime. And more than 60% of people, they carry a significant debt report. And that report typically brings on many symptoms of anxiety and depression, and that often leads to their financial situation. If you think about that for a moment, it's really overwhelming. More than half of the people are carrying heavy financial stress and also emotionally struggling. So we want to talk about how we can look at it from a different point of view so that we can alleviate some of that stress. So if that's you, please understand one thing, that you are absolutely not weak, you're not alone, and you are experiencing something that millions and millions of people are dealing with each and every day. One of the things that I often say is that we're never truly understanding and seeing what's going on behind closed doors. You might be looking at somebody and things might look like, oh, they got it all together. There was a commercial years ago where the guy's doing all this stuff and he's riding his lawnmower and he's got his big eyes and he's, oh yeah, I'm just trying to keep up here. And he's in extreme debt, but he's trying to make it seem like everything's hunky-dory and looking great. And I just wonder how many people would watch that commercial and think, oh my goodness, that's my story. I want you to take a deep breath, inhale and exhale. You look at all those people that they maybe look like they got it all together, and they might have the great job and the great house and the great car and the smiling photos. And we say, oh, we're looking at their highlight reel on social media, but inside they may be carrying a tremendous amount of pressure. It could be the debt, the medical bills, the business struggles, the family responsibilities, and many people feel embarrassed talking about it. That's just the reality of it. especially here in this country. We want to make sure we're keeping up with the Jones and making sure everything looks great and polished on the outside. Maybe they feel like they should have had it all figured out, got it all together. They feel like they're the only ones that are struggling. Nobody else is in this situation but me. But the truth is that so many people around us are navigating the exact same challenges. When financial stress builds and builds and builds, something dangerous can happen to our thinking. We get into that emotional part of it. People begin to believe the lie that there's no way out. They start to think, I've made too many mistakes. I've waited too long. The situation is impossible. I don't know if you know anybody who's ever said any of these things, but here's the truth I want to share with you, that financial situations and problems, they can be solved. They can. They may take time. They may take a strategy. They may take some help, but they're not permanent life sentences. I've seen people that they've turned their situations around. I'll give you hope right now that once they felt that it's impossible to make it happen, and to see that turn around and to have people come up to me and tell me their stories, it just warms my heart. So I'm here to tell you that yes, it can happen, but it doesn't happen overnight. What do they say? Rome was not built in a day. It's going to take those little steps, and that's what we talk about, taking the little steps. First thing is really approaching it and talking to somebody about it, but then moving into action. Does it take some of the hard steps? Yeah, but you can do it. I know you can. One of the hardest things for people to do is to ask for that help. So many people feel like they should be able to fix everything on their own and don't want to reach out. But think about every other area of your life. They're athletes. And athletes, what do? They have coaches. Businesses, they have advisors. People go to doctors with issues that they can't figure out themselves to ask for that help. This episode is brought to you by Fearlessly Debt Free. Do you have great income, but the debt just doesn't seem to be going down fast enough? Just know that you are not alone. At Fearlessly Debt Free, I help people just like you pay everything off. Credit cards, loans, even mortgages, in half to a third of the time, for half to a third of what you owe. And no, this isn't budgeting, it's not debt consolidation or bankruptcy. It's math, it's strategy, and it's automatic. And it works. How would it feel to be completely debt-free and to start building incredible wealth much, much faster? Schedule your free Debt to Wealth discovery call today at fearlesslydebtfree.com and take your next steps fearlessly. We're not just designed to navigate through this crazy world on our own. We're designed to navigate through this world with community, with others to help us through this journey. Sometimes the most courageous thing that you can do is to simply say, I need help. It's going to bring you to a place that you understand things better. And it is the strength that you're looking for in community with somebody else. Because the moment that someone opens that door, something really, really powerful happens. The burden starts to lift. And I often say that it's like carrying all this weight, carrying all this luggage. You've got it on your shoulders, you're holding it, you're holding on to all this baggage. And if you just take a deep breath and visually imagine just dropping all of that, just letting it go, how much lighter you'd feel. So to release that burden, you might be more supported than you think if you start to ask questions or talk to somebody in your community. Maybe it's a close friend, maybe it's somebody like myself who does discovery calls to find out exactly where you are. One of the most beautiful things that I've seen over the years doing this is when somebody finally opens up about what they're going through. They could be tears. They often discover something very surprising, that there are far more people willing to help than they ever imagined. And it might be a friend again, it might be a family member, it might be someone who has walked the same walk or the same path before you have. It might be a coach, or it might be an advisor that can help you bring that clarity. But the key is allowing somebody into the conversation. The silence, it can really make the problems feel a lot heavier. It can make things seem 10 times worse than they actually are. And for many of us, we even have our faith. And for me, I'm a praying girl, and our faith plays a huge role in my life when I go through tough seasons. But I know that with the prayers and girls in my life and the people in my life and our family, it helps to make that situation become more manageable. The faith that we have, it reminds us that there's a purpose, even in a struggle. So that's always a great message. Sometimes we have to see the pressure of a piece of coal to become a diamond, right? And sometimes the most courageous prayer that we can ever say is, help me relieve this burden. What is my next step? Not just the whole journey, just the next step. Again, we just feel like we have to get it all figured out today, and it could just be helping somebody who has that conversation with you line you up for that next step. And just, it could be a small step, it could be a baby step. And that's often how those real changes begin. When people feel overwhelmed financially, they often feel paralyzed. They look at the entire situation and think it's impossible to fix. But the real changes always happen in those small steps. The step one might be something as small as honestly looking at your numbers and pulling all those numbers together. The second step might be to create the plan. Now that you've seen all the numbers, now you have a plan. Don't you agree? If you don't have the numbers in front of you, or you don't have the situation in front of you, how could you possibly make a change? And we think about it in our mind, we think about it being in the background, but we don't really know what the situation is until we look at it clearly. The third step might be to find someone who can guide you through that strategy, and slowly, piece by piece, your progress begins to happen. I see it all the time. I know it can. Debt starts to shrink, confidence starts to grow, hope does return. And don't we say hope? We have to have hope in this crazy world. And I want to just say it again. I want to talk to those who might be listening to this, and maybe you feel like you're struggling right now. If you are feeling overwhelmed, I want to speak directly to you for just a moment. If you're feeling embarrassed about your financial situation, if you feel like you've made those mistakes, if you feel like that weight is just too heavy, please hear this clearly. Your story is not finished. This is part of your story. Can you imagine if that's the way that you're feeling, how it's going to feel on the flip side when everything is released from those shoulders and you're on track, you're on a road to that success that you're looking forward to. Your situation is not a permanent one. I know, you just think back right now and you think, yeah, my life has been a series of roads. Some are great roads and some are not so great roads. But there are people that care more than you actually realize. Sometimes the bravest steps that you can take are simply reaching out and starting that conversation. And I say that over and over and over again. If you are listening today and you feel like the emotional weight has just gone beyond your finances, then reach out to somebody who can support you. Talk to somebody that you trust. Talk to a counselor. Talk to someone who can help you carry the burden. And in this United States, we actually have a phone number that you can call. It's like a 911. This is a 988. It's called the 988 Lifeline, where there are trained listeners. They're there 24 hours a day. So there are people in your life that you just don't want to talk to, that you have that feeling of, oh my goodness, if they only knew. Pick up the phone, dial that 988 and talk to somebody who's completely unrelated. So there's no judgment because they don't know you, of course, but they can help you. They've been trained to help you, and they can walk you through those first initial steps before you do get into the position that you can reach out to somebody who can physically help you on the certain situation that you're dealing with. No one should ever feel like they don't have anybody they could reach out to and that you have to do these struggles alone. So as we wrap up today, I want to remind you of something. Your financial situation, it may be part of your story, but it's not your identity. You are not defined by your debt. You're not defined by past mistakes or things that you should have done differently. You are defined by the courage to keep moving forward. And sometimes that forward movement, it begins with something very simple, that conversation, that question, or asking for help. And if you're ready to explore some solutions around your finances, that's exactly why I'm here. That's what I do each and every day, talking to people about their situation and helping to set them up for that success that certainly they deserve. But more importantly, I want to always be a part of this community where it's a place that you have the support and you have the compassion and others who can talk with you or answer questions and really just relate to you and say, oh my goodness, you're not alone. There's absolutely no judgment, and we're in this together, because none of us were meant to walk alone. This journey is your journey, absolutely, but it doesn't have to be a solo journey. It can be a journey with others. And as always, I want to say thank you for joining me here today at Fearlessly Debt Free, where we're always taking those big, bold moves toward your financial freedom, yes, but also to help you to live your most abundant life. We'll talk again. Have a beautiful Thursday, and thank you for joining.
From paycheck to purpose, we rise above. This is your moment, it starts with self-love. Big, bold moves, abundant life. Fearlessly debt-free, we're doing it right. Cutting through the chaos, clarity shines. Wealth on the horizon, it's finally time. Strategy strong and direction clear.